The creative industry is in disarray. The COVID-19 pandemic has decimated the livelihoods of artists and performers everywhere. I've asked Motheo Moleko, who is a successful solo artist. He's the rapper for the Jeremy Loops band. He is a creative director, and he's also one of the most creative people that I know, to come and chat with me about what exactly is going on behind the scenes in the creative sector. Motheo Moleko. Hey, there
Brad,
he
there
is.
he is. There he is. How you, mate?
You're good, brother. Super good. All the better to see you, my man.
Yeah, nice to see you, dude.
I'm digging,
How things been your side?
digging the background, looking very metrosexual, looking like you're sitting in the
This is my.
city.
It's exactly how I live. It's just my apartment.
Dude, how you doing, man? You looking good? You looking happy? You looking fresh?
Yeah, I think like for everyone at the moment, it's just a weird time. And so what I've always been just as a person, if you can call a person that I know people call businesses that, but like as a person, I've always been anti-fragile. As soon as I realized, uh, COVID-19 was gonna arrive here, I was like, all right, this is happening. I must now adjust and adapt and focus on keeping your health together, your routines together, your habits together. Once you're doing that stuff well, I feel like everything else just generally follows.
Yeah, I agree with you. I couldn't actually agree with you more. I love that. I mean, everyone's using the term anti-fragile in the moment, but it's such a good listen. Taleb has a way of creeping into public consciousness with his terminology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy.
Black swan and anti-fragile. It's like
It's
he's cornered the
crazy.
market in global terminology, you know. But
It's an incredible skill, man. For me, being anti-fragile is accepting that you can't control everything and treating challenges like the norm. You just expect them to come. And sometimes you get those challenges that are crazy and there's nothing you can do to expect them or anticipate them, like the situation we're in now, but you have to be able to ride it out. And that's sort of my approach to it, is just having a high variance for what my income is, having a high variance for what my pain threshold is, so to speak, and just being able to ride with it and knowing you come out the other side.
and I mean, obviously, I respect you as a performer. I've seen you
Totally.
live on stage, freaking killing it and doing your
Mm.
thing. And I love your solo stuff. I love the stuff you do with Jeremy Loops. You know, you've got this body of work that started to evolve, but yet now we've ground to a halt. Can we talk about how the
Yeah.
crisis has affected musicians and artists?
Yes. Yeah. Great question. Look, there is no way to overstate how bad it is. I think there is. Anyone who is in the performance business and anyone who is in a business that requires people to be in a physical space is screwed. And depending on who you're speaking to, obviously through some of the relationships I have, we have partners at Live Nation, which is the biggest touring company in the world, biggest promoter in the world, CAA, which is one of the biggest agencies. And the conversation there, and it's come out in the press, people expect shows to return at the end of 2021. So if you're a rigger, if you're a lighting engineer, if you're a roadie, if you're a musician whose income predominantly comes from touring, there's nothing at all until 2021. And that's an insane thing to have to think about and to have to deal with. I'm also one of the few people who's been fortunate enough to receive the grant the government, extended to artists. Very few artists have received them. Many athletes have received them because the arts are generally secondary in this country. But I've been fortunate. But even that, it doesn't cover anything. It doesn't stretch very far. So it's bad. The industry's imploded for all intents and purposes. Just no revenue in it. And that's a thing that no one can prepare for.
Dude, what are you going to do about it? what is everybody, what are the riggers going to do about it? What are the lighting engineers going to do about it? And what are the performers going to do about it?
I think performers, musicians especially, are perhaps the most fortunate in that we can adjust and look to make revenue in different places. So you've seen this huge rise in live stream shows that are donation based. There's also been a big in live stream shows that are ticketed, and people seem to be quite relaxed about doing that sort of thing at present. Um, but it doesn't cover what you've lost. You can also obviously continue to earn money from your streams, right? If you've built a strong enough catalog where you're making revenue from your streams, that can cover you too. But that's just one area. The riggers, the lighting guys, the guys whose work and whose money comes from using their hands and creating an environment for people to come to, there is nothing to replace that. Say it was in Denmark, they've begun doing these drive-in concerts, which are pretty cool. It's like, you know, going to a drive-in movie. That sort of thing has come back, which is cool, but it just won't scale at the level the riggers need to make money. And so those people find themselves in a position where they have to be really, really smart, and they have to adapt in intelligent ways. And you've seen a rise, you know, for the higher level artists who want to put on live stream concerts with production values. Companies are propped up now where a camera crew rocks up at your house with an audio crew, and they set you up so you can do a high production value stream from your home. That covers a little bit. And I'm sure that these skills are adaptable to different environments, but at the moment, there's just no idea. They just
So essentially, it's adapt, overcome, improvise, do whatever you can. I mean, we had Carl Vestberg here the other day from Retail Capital. When I say over here, I mean on screen, on the
sure. He's
virtual
here.
environment, and he was talking about the fact that right now it's about digging your heels in and survive. Like, you know, try and shore up as much money as you can. Do whatever you can to bring in money. Just, you know, bring down your costs and stay in the game, because this will end. But I guess then, you know, the advice then is, you know, do whatever it takes. But what have you learned? What have you learned in terms of moving forward? And what are some of the lessons that we can take out of this?
Diversify. That's the big lesson. I think it's always the lesson. Everyone who invests diversify your portfolio, but not enough of us diversify our skill sets and diversify our income streams. I've always believed that digital and online is where it's at. That's where money's going to come from. If I have children, I hope that education is at a place where developing and designing and programming are just rudimentary skills, because I think that's going to be the new playing field. But if you make your money from one place and one place only, you put yourself at risk. Yes, you give yourself the best opportunity to build something big. I'm very big on focus. I know the power that focus leverages over doing lots of different things, of course. But at the same time, entire businesses have gone under. And if in your individual capacity, if you've done just the things that'll cover you here and there, just the side hustles, if you will, that'll cover those expenses you can never get away from, and making sure that even if they're in the same industry that you operate in, they just happen in a different space, so revenue continues to come. That's the big lesson here. And I've been fortunate in that I've been on the front foot about it. So these revenue channels already exist for me, uh, but for lots of people, they don't exist. And this is a rude awakening. It's a huge wake-up call for everyone about, you know, depending on one source of income, whether it's a 9-to-5 job. You know, thousands of people are losing their jobs by the day, or you're an entrepreneur or a freelance of some sort. Just find a way to cover your bases in case something crazy like a global pandemic happens, you know?
What are you currently doing that shows diversity?
Yep, fair. So I work predominantly in the entertainment industry. It started out as music, but it kind of expanded into entertainment. What happened was when I began performing as an artist, one of the artists I was working a lot with, Jeremy Loops, we were promoting our own shows. So I picked up all these skills in promoting shows. And then I had other artists come to me and say, hey, can you help us out with that? And I did that for 1 or 2 people. And then I actually ended up starting a digital marketing agency that just promotes events. That's all we do, and work with artists. And so that was doing quite well. The pandemic came, wiped out 80% of our client base. The revenue was just gone. And so we had to adapt from there, which we've done quite well. So we started out focusing on just entertainment and live events. That's now gone. And we just adjusted our strategy a little bit and said, well, what are we very competent in, where we can add value? The other revenue channel is income from recorded music. You make money from streams. It requires a lot of streams, but you can build that business up if you've got the patience and you take the time to understand it. You also get revenue from secondary channels like your music rights, the Samros of the world, the Sampras of the world. Many artists may think that revenue is insignificant, but if you've done the work of building up a catalog, it isn't. It's a big chunk of cash. People are getting tens of thousands of rands worth of payouts every quarter, twice a year sometimes. And that's real money that can make a difference in your life. There's also the publishing. If you write on songs and you keep your publishing, that revenue continues to come in as well. And so those are all sort of discrete areas where I've done relatively okay.
I guess what I'm hearing you say as well is that you're diversifying, but you're also applying the general tenets of entrepreneurship on top of just being a performer, which in of itself is really, really tough. And most people can't perform as well as, say, you do, or some of your contemporaries and the people that you work with, like Jeremy and so on. Like, I mean, you guys are really, really, really good. What you've done is you've managed to expand that and throw the net a little bit wider, which, at this point in time is really standing to your benefit, which is amazing. I mean, hats off to you, my man. That's super cool. Do you have a message for the creatives out there? Just a final message for the creative entrepreneurs, the craftsmen, the performers, and the artistic types that are listening to this?
Absolutely. I think the big thing anyone who creates and is a creative entrepreneur needs to remember is your enterprise is creating. You can't stop making because the world has gone upside down. All that's changed for you, all that's changed for us is maybe your distribution channels, maybe your route to market, but the product is still there. The skill set is still there. And right now, what you need to do is figure out how to still get it to market. If you are a lighting engineer, for example, who can't get work now because there aren't shows happening, build a course that teaches people how to do lights. You can do it. It's a viable thing to do. Yes, there are other skills you need to learn. Yes, you may need to call in some favors from friends to help you, but do it. And it's saddening the number of people I've seen who throw their hands up and go, well, my industry's gone now. I can't make money. I can't figure this out. That's entrepreneurialism, man. The industry go upside down every day. Platforms eat the world all the time. You just have to be smart and slick about how you adapt. That would be my message. Keep making your things and then figure out how to get that stuff to market.
I love that. Thank you, my man. That's a really, really sage and beautiful piece of advice, which I think everybody can take to heart, not just creatives.